I'm Dan Kubisky, co-chair of the International Community of the Society of Professional Journalists. Welcome to what we in the SPJIC call IC Shorts, 10 to 15 minute update on issues affecting press freedom around the world. With me today is Stavros Malichudis, board member and reporter for We Are Solomon in Athens, Greece. Solomon is a nonprofit that covers the refugee situation in Greece, but also runs journalism programs that allows the refugees to tell their own stories. We had interviewed Stavros back in December 2020 for our hour-long IC talk about the work of Solomon, and you can see that at our YouTube channel. With the influx of Afghan refugees in the United States, we initially wanted Stavros to do one of these short updates to give American journalists some tips on how to cover refugees in their area. Instead, we have another serious issue to talk about. Earlier this month, Solomon, and Stavros in particular, discovered they were targets of the Greek intelligence service. We reported on this in the last IC newsletter. Since this action was revealed, members of the European Parliament and journalism groups around the world have condemned the action and have demanded an investigation. So Stavros, from what I could tell from your own accounts, you and Solomon became the target of the Greek intelligence service, the EYP, after you went looking for a 12-year-old refugee, Syrian refugee, somewhere in Greece, because of that young person's art. So how did this national curiosity of a journalist become a national security issue in Greece? And maybe you could also update us on what has happened, if anything, in the past couple of weeks since the monitoring was revealed.
Yeah, that's a great question, Dan, and a great introduction also to the case. I'm not sure how the painting, because it was a painting of a 12-year-old boy who lived in a detention center in the Greek island of Kos. I don't know how exactly his painting could mean anything to national security, but the case is that this boy was living in detention with his mother. He made the painting, which was featured in a museum in Marseille and made it also to a supplement of Le Monde, of the French newspaper. And this is how I tried to track him down, because I just tried to see what his story is and where he comes from, why is he there. And apparently this became the target of interest of the intelligence agency. And the interesting part is that in the leaked documents that I've seen, daily published, what they are doing is that the office from Athens, the intelligence agency office from Athens, is asking for information for the boy itself, the 12-year-old boy, and for an IOM, an employee of the International Organization of Migration, who I talked with during the research of the report. So our guess and what we understand from this message is that they were monitoring me, and then they know that I talked with this boy. They have the details of the boy, 12-year-old, the name, his painting, Le Monde, and they are asking their colleagues in the island to provide information about the boy and about the employee, which is it's quite bizarre, because this is not the biggest investigation that someone would do, and there are many more important stories coming from covering refugees, but that was one of the messages that leaked. And the update is that the Minister of State 2 days ago, on Wednesday afternoon, issued a statement, and he said that Greece fully respects freedom of press and human rights, and this doesn't happen. But it's not very convincing, because the newspaper published the document. So but it was an official response after, and actually right after the publication of the report, the government spokesperson kind of confirmed that it happened, and he said that these issues have to do with national security. So 1 week later, the government said that it doesn't happen, which is not very convincing.
Okay, and what I'm wondering, one thing I'm wondering about here too is it seems they also looked at the organizations working with refugees, as well. It's like they were digging deeper beyond just what you and Solomon were doing, but also what the refugee groups. Can you fill us in on that at all?
Yeah, in the same report, this report was published on 13th of November, Saturday. So in the same article, they ask information about a lawyer who is who defends a specific migrant case. So what we understand is that we have some high-profile cases here in Greece which have to do with human rights. There are cases of migrants entering the country that are later accused of being smugglers and sentenced, although they are not the smugglers. There are many high-profile cases, so they refer to one lawyer that defends probably one of these cases, and also to another woman who is involved in some NGO advocating for the rights of the refugees. So these are all also under the monitoring of the intelligence agency. Migration here is an issue of national security quite often, and we also, the people who cover migration, we hear a lot that we are Turkish agents and we are, foreign agents and everything. So this could be explained, I think, in this aspect. Although we are not Turkish agents, and I have never been in Turkey personally, but this is one aspect that how they frame it usually.
Right. Now, has all of this revealing of what the government is doing, has this affected your ability to continue what really has been excellent reporting out of the various refugee camps? Have you been hindered, or have your colleagues been hindered in any way?
We have certainly all become very quite afraid, I would say. I will not say that we are cool and everything is going on as before. It has affected us, both professionally and personally. We have had to explain to our parents that everything's all right, which I think is also one important aspect, because we are not only journalists, we have a personal life, and this was also damaged. And we have noticed that we use the phone much less, because my monitoring happened through phone. We are fully convinced about that. So it was not physical monitoring. So we have limited our use of phone, which is it's also kind of weird. And now we are trying to see how we can, we can continue reporting without taking these things into account. Although we have nothing to hide, we do everything we do with our name and our surname and our bylines and openly with transparency. But we have had, we have this feeling that we need to better protect our communication and our reporting. And of course, another issue is that we need to also protect the people who talk to us, because this is the case now. Now, because I talked to some IOM employee, they started requesting intelligence about him. We don't know for how many other people it can happen. We don't know who they collect intelligence for. And sometimes we talk with people who are undocumented. And our first right is to protect them, because we tell their stories, but we shouldn't endanger them. But now it seems that we have perhaps failed to protect people who share their stories with us. And that's also something to take into account.
Yeah. And you had a great line in your the article that you posted on Solomon. I am the journalist being watched. I think it's one of the best lines, and you referred to this throughout your discussion so far. Journalism serves society; it does not threaten it. Obviously, if a government agency is looking at you, they feel threatened by something. What do you think they're threatened? What do you feel they think they might be threatened with your fair and independent reporting?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think the answer to this is that we need to make a distinction if the intelligence service takes care of dangers that could be posed to the society or to the government. I think if the intelligence service takes care of fears and damages and threats that have to do with the society, our reporting has nothing to create a problem to them. They have nothing to be afraid of. Society has nothing to be afraid from us because we do everything transparently. And yes, I think that our journalism serves society. And when we stop having this feeling, we will stop doing it, and we will do something else. But we do journalism because we think that we defend human rights, we defend some human values, we defend the truth, and this is our way to do journalism. So if our journalism threatens society, I can confirm 100% that this is not the case and that they are wasting the money. So it should be another explanation that someone should hold these people accountable for spending taxpayers' money into monitoring people who are not dangerous. But the other guess, and I think more and more as I think about it, I get there, is that maybe the intelligence agency takes care of the interests not of the society, but of the government and of each government that happens to be in power at the time. So in that case, I think that because our reporting has really done some, has brought some revelations about misuse of the European funds that Greece takes for the refugees, about violation of human rights, about different things that could expose a bad image for Greece abroad. And this is usually what the current government mostly cares about, the image abroad. I think in that case, our monitoring has to do with just some people being aware of what we're working on and what we could publish and what we are having, because honestly, there's no other way. We're not planning to overthrow the government. We're not planning to take the streets and start a revolution or to do a terrorist attack. We just do reporting. We are here. We do the meetings in this office with the doors open, with everyone can see us, everyone knows our name. We have on our website every data for us, where we're funded from, what we do, how we do it. We collaborate with universities here, with foreign media and media professionals. So I don't think we are a threat to the society. If we do something that could disturb or make unhappy the government, that's another issue. And I think that our monitoring has more to do with that than with really using these funds and this equipment to make our society safer.
Yeah, I mean, because you noted that you had exposed how the books were cooked and the conditions in the camps. Just based on your reporting from the camps so far, just maybe could you just give us a brief summary, kind of an update? How are things in these camps? Because it's the situation in the Greek camps has kind of gone away from the American media reports, and maybe if you could just give us a minute or two just to explain how things, an update, that would be, I think, very useful to our viewers.
We are in the past year, we are heading to a different direction. In the past 4 or 5 years, it used to be more that you would have those overcrowded camps packed with people living in tents, in dire conditions, and usually in capacity which would be 3 or 4 or 5 times over the actual capacity. Now we are heading to a different technological future. So now we have new camps in the islands, in the 5 major islands accepting asylum-seeking populations. And these are equipped with surveillance monitors, with X-ray gates, there are drones, there are thermal cameras. So we are going to this more like technological and more kind of a surveillance future. And this is where the actual populations arriving in Greece will stay from now on. The numbers in the islands are way lower than in the previous years because Greece, although the government denies it, is pushing the dinghies that come from the Turkish shores back. This has been documented. This has been proved. This has been, documented even from internal documents of the European Border Agency of Border Patrol. So there are less people coming. So now we are in this point that we have those new era technological and equipped camps which are empty of people. And the human rights groups, they argue that all those surveillance, you know, I mean, they do look like a prison. It's maybe safer. It's perhaps safer than the old camps, because in the old camps you had all those conditions creating anger to people and fighting with each other for no reason, because of the general tension in the atmosphere. So now you have these camps that are secure, but it's really a panopticon. It's everywhere barbed wire, and you feel that you are being watched from everywhere. And what our hypothesis is that, you know, this is now tested in Greece. So in the next years, we should expect to see similar kind of camps in the other Mediterranean countries as well, because this is how it's going to be from now on.
I want to thank you very much for taking time. It's coming up at the end of your day. So thank you. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add on any of the topics that we've covered that maybe I didn't ask you about? I know time is short, but if there's anything you'd like to add, please take this opportunity now.
No, Dan, I would like just to simply thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to share with colleagues in the US what we're going through and how things are here. And I'm very grateful on a second level, because how we have had these past weeks with after it was revealed for our monitoring, we have this weird and quite bizarre condition that there is lots of interest for our case from people abroad, whether that are MEPs or journalistic unions, the International Press Institute, the Reporters Without Borders, like all the journalistic bodies from abroad and many media from abroad, they have talked to us and showed interest, and you know, some showed solidarity, some asked for an article. And at the same time, here things are so polarized that the main media requests we have had are from media that are close to Syriza, which is the opposition party, the main opposition party, who of course they have their own, I don't know, agenda or whatever, but we didn't want to play this game and take part in something polarized. But at the same time, although there have been announcements here from the Journalists Union and from the Foreign Press Association and from everyone, our case hasn't been written in most news websites, even in a 100-word news article that just says this happened, and this is what they say. So it's I thank you very much, because for us that means a lot, because we have this crazy situation where in our country media pretend like this never happened, and that's disappointing.
Yeah, it is. Well, thank you again very much for your time, and thank you for your work that you and Solomon do to get the stories out from these refugee camps. I know American journalists can learn a lot from just reading the way your stories are done in Solomon.
Thank you very much.
For people, you can read more about the situation by you can ask for more information by writing to the SPJIC at spj.internationalcommunity@gmail.com. Again, Stavros, thank you very much. Really do appreciate your time.